Hi everyone, welcome to another video of structure and written expression, and I'm Julie. This time I'll be discussing over sentence with multiple clauses and adverb clauses. Before you start learning from this video, I suppose you have seen the first video in structure and written expression, which is about sentence structure with one clause. Now I'm going to continue with sentences with multiple clauses. In a sentence with only one clause, we do not have a connector. While in a sentence with multiple clauses, we need a connector or maybe more than one connector to connect the clauses. For example, here we have a sentence with two clauses. You know that one clause consists of one subject and one verb. So here we've got one clause and this is the other clause. To connect these two, we need this connector. Sentence structure with multiple clauses can be various. For example, the structure can be different depending on the position of the connector. In the first example, we see the position of the connector is in the middle of the sentence here. Now look at the second example. We see the connector is placed in the beginning of the sentence. The structure, of course, is different, and we usually have comma in the middle. It is very possible, even very often, to find sentences with multiple clauses in TOEFL. One thing that you should be familiar with is the connector. That's why in here I'm going to show you the structure of sentences with coordinate connectors first. Coordinate connectors are and, but, or, so, yet. Typically, the structure of sentence with coordinate connectors is subject, verb, coordinate connector, subject, verb. The connector is always placed in the middle of the sentence. That's how it makes sense. This is the example. He ran out of money, comma, so he tried finding a full-time job. Remember, subject, verb, coordinate connector, subject, verb. Be familiar with this 5, alright? Let's see this practice. You still remember the strategy? Analyze the sentence and determine what is missing. Guys, this is the structure of the sentence. We've got subject, verb, and object, of course. And we've got comma. And here we see but, which is one of coordinate connectors, and subject. What is missing is the verb. Remember the structure, yeah? Subject, verb, coordinate connector, subject, verb. Now let's find the verb. I will quickly eliminate A and B because they have subject. You see the supervisor and they, which we don't need anymore. So now we can choose either C or D. D is wrong because there is no tense like this. You see subject plus verb 3. You never find a sentence with subject plus verb 3. The grammar in D is wrong. So the answer is C. Let's review it a bit. Have not taken. The structure and the grammar are correct. This is written in present perfect tense. So that's about sentence with coordinate connectors. Now let's continue with sentence structure with adverb clause. Everyone, it is very possible for you to find the use of adverb clause in sentences. Again, you need to be familiar with the connectors to determine what kind of clauses they are. So you can connect or you can determine whether the structure is correct or not. An adverb clause has a lot of functions actually to indicate time, reason, condition, contrast, manner, and place. And here you can see examples of connectors based on the functions. So take your time and be familiar with them all. Now I'm going to show you possible structure of sentences with adverb clauses. An adverb clause connector can be positioned either in the middle of the sentence or in the beginning of that sentence. Usually, if the connector is placed in the beginning of the sentence, we will need a comma. And this actually can be a hint for you when determining what is missing in a sentence. There's an exception though for contrast connector. You know contrast connector, yeah? Like although, even though, while, whereas. It is possible to use a comma although the connector is in the middle. This is the example. You see, the connector is in the middle, but there is still a comma here. It is still possible for a sentence with a contrast connector. Okay, now let's get back to the structure. If the connector is in the middle, then the structure is subject, verb, connector, subject, verb. Meanwhile, if the connector is placed in the beginning of the sentence, then the structure is connector, subject, verb, connector, subject, verb. Now let's see the practice. As usual, find what is missing. Okay, this is the structure of the sentence. We have while as a connector, he as a subject, attempted as a verb, and the other part is as a complement. And we've got comma. Yeah, it is normal because the connector is in the beginning of the sentence, yeah? That means what is missing is subject and verb. Now let's review the options. I will eliminate A and B because A and B do not have a verb. Now I have two options, either C or D. Both of them have subject and verb. Do not get confused. Test the meaning. Let's review C. C has subject and verb in it, but the grammar is incorrect. If it is in simple past tense, it should be John caught the storm. If it is in passive, it should be John was caught in the storm. That's why I'll eliminate this. Then the answer is D. This is the subject and this is the verb. The structure and the grammar are correct. Okay, everyone. In the previous slide, I have shown you the structure of a sentence with an adverb clause. And the structure is complete. Now I'm going to show you the structure of a sentence with an adverb clause but reduced. Some of you might be asking, why should it be reduced? Why don't they just let it complete? Yeah, but it is language. A language may have various styles, and reducing the clause is one of them. You should be familiar with the structure of reduced clause so you are aware of alternatives of the answer to complete the missing part in TOEFL. But remember, not every clause can be reduced. You can only reduce adverb and adjective clauses. You don't reduce noun clause, alright? Now let's see how adverb clauses can be reduced. The first thing that you should remember, if the adverb clause has a be verb, then you can reduce the subject and the be verb. Okay, this is the adverb clause. This is the connector. There is a be verb here, yeah? So you reduce the subject and the be verb. The result is, if needed, comma, we will be available every Monday. You just reduce the adverb clause, not the other clause. The other clause is still the same. The meaning of the sentences are the same. Okay, so that is the first point. Now let's see the second point. If the adverb clause does not have a be verb, you can reduce the subject and change the verb into a verb ing. So for example, this is the adverb clause. This is the connector, yeah, after. There is no a be verb here. So you reduce the subject and change the verb into verb ing. So it is after completing. After looking at these two examples, we can conclude that in reduced form, an adverb clause can be connector verb 3 or connector verb ing, or maybe connector complement. For example, the complete clause may be after it is 8 p.m. Then we can reduce after 8 p.m. Now that's 8 p.m. is a complement, right? So bear that in mind. Okay, now everyone, let's see this practice. Here we have subject and verb, and of course the object. And there is a comma here, which may indicate a sentence with multiple clauses. And after reviewing options A until D, there is a use of connector, and it may also indicate the use of multiple clauses. And as we know before, if there is a comma in the middle, that means the connector is in the beginning. If the connector is in the beginning, the structure is connector subject verb, comma, subject verb. But I cannot find an option with structure like this in A, B, C, and D. What I should do now is finding another alternative, which is a reduced form. And we see here the connector is before, which is an adverb clause connector, yeah? Of course, I will eliminate A because there is no connector here. As I told you before, possibilities of reduced adverb clauses are connector plus verbing, or connector plus verb tree, or connector plus other complements, right? And I found C, connector plus verbing. So this is the answer. Okay, everyone, I have explained to you common structures of sentences with multiple clauses, starting from a sentence with a coordinate connector and adverb clauses, and also the reduced form of adverb clauses. I hope the video helps. I'll see you in the next one.